Today we're going to look at 4 KOs that you have to see to believe. If I came to you and said, guess what? We're going to train this technique today, you'd go, why? It's never going to land in a fight. But these have actually worked, and I want to break down for you exactly why they landed and how you can train them in the gym to maybe use them yourself in the future. Now you guys know on the channel I like to be upfront about things. If you are wanting to train these super fancy kicks, let's say even a spinning hook kick, which has a far higher probability of landing than the techniques we're actually going to talk about today, but just for a spinning hook kick, let's say, if you're going to throw that 30 times in a training session, you better darn well be throwing that jab 300 times, because this is the technique in all likelihood that is going to win you the fight. Not particularly the jab, but just anything that's more basic. So the ones we're going to work today, sure, you could train them, but don't forget to prioritize the other techniques which are far more important, even if they're not nearly as cool. Now the first technique we are going to talk about today is a tornado kick. And a tornado kick, as many of you guys know, is essentially a scissor round kick, but with a spin to start off. So I'll be standing here. I could just step through and come to my tornado kick, but most times it's used with a missed round kick, and I use the momentum from that to come into my full 360 whip around round kick. Now I was just working with somebody recently on this technique, trying to help them figure out what was going wrong, and the solution to people who struggle usually seem to be a very similar thing. And that is, if I start my round kick here, then I want the leg that is very simply lifting up and hoisting me in the air. I want this opposite leg to pass in front of the camera. So my round kick passes in front of the camera, and then this leg passes in front of the camera. The mistake that most people make is they go round kick, they lift this up, they drop it, and then they try and come with the additional technique, but you're not going to be able to pass through properly. If you want to land this with power and force, you need to have 3 points of contact that cross the camera line. Round kick, knee lifts, round kick again. So it looks, even in this limited space, I'll do the best I can, something like this. I come 1 and right into there. And that's basically what we're trying to do. This is something that I've had people throw on me in sparring, but usually I'm just like, no, you're not gonna land that. But it can land. We've seen video footage of it landing, so play with it yourself, and one day you might wow the crowd. The next KO we are looking at, which you might go, that's not gonna work. Rolling Thunder. If you don't know what rolling thunder is, it is essentially a forward somersault right from here. So I can almost do like a front flip, but I land on my glutes. I'm not gonna do it here. I don't have any pads and I don't wanna bang myself up. And as you guys can see, I'm sporting an injury, but essentially it's me doing my axe kick after I tumble and roll. And believe it or not, when I was first prepping up for my initial amateur fights, I knew I wanted to throw something fancy, so I was training this. I put a few little pads down on the floor just as safety, and then I would have somebody hold a big kick shield up high, and I would just come within punch range and then just flip over and land it on that pad. Is it something which has a high likelihood of landing as a KO? No, because you're going to have to land at the exact perfect point, and most likely the guy's going to have his eyes closed so that when you hit him, he gets rattled, because this is essentially an axe kick, but you don't have connection on the floor with one foot, so it might even be weaker, potentially. And I've landed axe kicks. I've seen my brother put his heel right into people's heads, hear the big clunk, and they don't go down. Axe kicks are hard to score full-on knockdowns with, but we have seen here, and there are multiple other clips of people landing the rolling thunder and scoring a knockdown. Just remember, if you're gonna try this, it's not shoulder square and my head comes right down towards my feet. I'm not actually doing a front flip. I'm putting my head off to the side and leading with one shoulder, so that it's kind of like an inverted rotation, so there's no likelihood of me messing up and landing on top of my head. Next up, we're looking at one of the most spectacular KOs that I have ever seen. And when I saw it, I went, no way. Like, I trained that once and I went, it's never gonna work. So I'm never gonna practice it again. And what we see is one of these UFC fighters throwing a kick. His foot gets caught by his opponent, and then from there he jumps off his standing leg, manages to pull this out, and lands a jumping, spinning side kick. But he's doing the jumping, spinning side kick off one leg. Normally you do jumping, spinning side kicks from here, you'll spring and put that foot right into the target. But in this one, off one leg, so much more difficult. I stopped training it because the guys that I was working with, when they caught my leg and I'd go to jump, they'd either grab it and pull, or they just let go and step back. They were too clever to get caught. And I went, I don't think this is gonna work. But if you were wanting to train it, what you would do is you would get somebody to hold onto your foot, but they need to let go as soon as you start the kick. This foot here is gonna spring up, it's gonna become the kicking leg, and this one will come down and support you. Oh, I haven't done that in about 15 years, and without anything to bounce off, it doesn't feel great. But this is the technique that you can utilize. Somebody catches the kick, they hold it, you just go like this for them. If you hold with two hands as they rotate, it won't work. And then they can come right in and land that shot, preferably with a big kick shield here. They're holding your leg, and then they can practice. It's gonna be something that has so little chance of landing, but as we've seen in this clip, it can actually work. And the last technique that we are gonna look at today is a cartwheel kick. A little bit different than the one that Saenchai throws, because when he does it, he actually gets both feet right up in the air, and then he throws his kick. In this one, we see tension going, but I think tension keeps his foot on the ground, and he just puts his hand down and boom, and he kind of uses his head off to the side and his hand dropping as a slipping mechanism. But really overall, this is very close to a cartwheel kick. It's probably what he was going for. And this is something in the past that I would have said, you know what? I've seen Saenchai throw this again and again and again and again and again. And the only time I've ever seen him knock somebody out was in a sparring session where the guy rushed in, but he wasn't obviously very good to be rushing forward with your hands down and your head out. So even the guys that Saenchai are fighting who are not the highest level, still not working on them. So there's a low probability of this actually landing, but as tension has shown us, it can be utilized. What are we trying to do on this one? Well, generally, when Saenchai throws, he'll be out of range, and then he'll lean in, put his hand on the ground, and throw the kick. The reason he's not scoring the knockdown, the way tension did, is the opponents are at a distance, and he's going while they are stationary. But what tension does is he waits for his opponent to move in, expose himself, and then he lands. So if you're wanting to play around with this, and you're wanting to actually go, I think I can land this in a fight, I would sit here and I would wait. I would have a pad holder, maybe setting up the pads. The pad holder moves, and when the pad holder moves, you get your head off the center line, and then you blast that kick in. I'm sorry I don't have a little more space in here. I get full body now, but still not enough that you can see what's happening exactly. But essentially, one hand to the floor, post up there for a second, both legs up in the air, one leg kicks. You can generate a decent amount of force on this. But like I said, the problem being most people, as soon as you lean over, they keep their hands up and they stay high. You want somebody to be leaning in, and it's best done as they're attacking. So this is something which you can absolutely train. If you have somebody who can hold for you, remind them pads are not like this, like regular Thai pads. We're not kicking upwards, we're dropping down. So they have to be way up here for these pads to actually protect them and be ideal for you. And those are the 4 kicks, which you have to see to believe, with a little few tips in there so that you can start training them yourself and either have fun in the gym or hopefully one day land them in a fight. Let's call it there. You guys enjoyed the episode, please give it a like. If you haven't already, join the channel, get subscribed. Train hard, guys. I will see you back here soon for another episode.